You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And this evening we have some main course for you, but it's not your normal main course because it's like chicken livers or calamari or like snail meat. And what I'm talking about there is the first matchup or first coaching job for Dan Rizzi. He'll be coaching his first game, of course, in Falcons Hate Week, the second matchup between the Atlanta Falcons, and this will be in the Dome. So I expect there to be, at least early on in the game, more energy than there has been towards the demise of Dennis Allen. So I hope if the Saints are able to attain at least one more win of the season and maybe have us feeling good about where we're at with Dan Rizzi. Hopefully it's at least against the Falcons during Falcon Hate Week. But let's get into this. Let's get into this game and let's get into the injury report and some MVPs and game picks for this. So can I get a menu? And so the injury report, it's like I was saying, like out of all games for an interim head coach to get his first start in, it's going to be Sunday, November 10th at 12 p.m. in the Caesar Superdome against like the Saints' hated rival, but he's facing some adversity, not having the two starting wide receivers. It's wild, really. I wonder how often that happens where teams go into games or finish the season without their two starting wide receivers and their two starting corners. But let's get into this injury report. Hopefully it's not too dreadful for him and bleak for him, and hopefully that at least hopefully Dan Rizzi at least has the Saints competitive. But let's get into this injury report. So we have a wide receiver, Cedric Wilson, dealing with a shoulder injury, didn't practice all week and is out, which that was for some reason last week was Derek Carr's go-to receiver on the 4th and 4 against the Panthers, but I don't think he'll be missed much in this game. And then really out of the two players that are out, this is like one of the few that is disappointing. We have a cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry, hamstring, didn't practice all week and is out. He must have learned that from Marshawn Lattimore or something, because just talking briefly about Marshawn Lattimore, I don't know exactly how he was able to pass a physical to be traded. I didn't think you could trade injured players because just for a little creeping on the Washington Commanders Twitter account. I was creeping on it and seeing like what their injury report looking like and looking to see if Marshawn Lattimore was on it or it was still on it, and hell, it doesn't look like he's going to even play this week for them due to his hamstring injury that he's been dealing with for the Saints. Maybe it's just one more acting job just to make it look like it was legitimate when he was with the Saints, and so he can learn the defensive scheme and all that. But I mean, the best way the Commanders could use Marshawn Lattimore is just to have him play man to man anyways, following around the best wide receiver of the team that they're facing. But yeah, I just checked in on that, and I thought that was pretty interesting that he's still, at least on their injury report, didn't practice all week and he is out. And man, I really hope I hope Kool-Aid McKinstry hasn't learned any hamstring workouts for Marshawn Lattimore. Let's hope he didn't give transplant one of his, or just is falling in line with, I don't feel like playing for a losing team anymore, so I'll just play as if I got a hamstring injury, and I'll see you next year. Hopefully, Kool-Aid McKinstry isn't falling into that horrible culture that we still kind of had with a couple players left over from the Sean Payton regime. All right. And then one of the sad one, which we talked about on the previous podcast, is wide receiver Chris Olave, concussion. He didn't practice all week and is expected. He's out. And we've heard a little bit from Dan Rizzi talking about, it's about the health and the person, Chris Olave, and then the player, everything about the player and him possibly wide receiver being on this team, all of that is secondary, which I agree with that. But they haven't put him on IR yet, but they said that is still a possibility that they could put him on IR and in this season. But it's still open. It's kind of surprising. It's still open to, I guess, an NFL doctor would have to uh, clear him, and then a second opinion would have to clear him for him to actually play again this year, or play again, I guess. But uh, again, please, like Chris Olave, if you do come back and play, uh, where the Guardian cap? Where the Guardian cap? I don't know if it reduces uh, concussions by 5% or more, or at all, but you got to do any little thing you can. It's horrible hearing like his update coming into that game, how he was wearing a new helmet that he felt real good and confident with, and then like the first play, one of the first plays of the Panthers game, he gets completely slumped and laid out on the field. So Chris Olave, definitely take care of yourself above all, because I never even looked at Chris Olave as a number one wide receiver, anyways, before all the concussions and all that started becoming uh, a problem. I mean, he's a nice player, but the Saints still need like a true number one receiver that can catch jump balls and contested catches, and is just physical and doesn't get a concussion off of every other hit that he gets. Which that's not Chris Olave's fault necessarily, but the Saints don't need that. The Saints don't need injury prone players or concussion prone players, and even Rashid Shaheed, he's definitely not a number one receiver either. Not cannot catch contested catches or jump balls. He's just a burner. He's he's like a Devery Henderson 2.0 kind of player. All right, and then guard, we have Lucas Patrick, uh, ankle, didn't practice all week and he's out. So those are your like four players that we know for sure, besides players that are on IR still, that are going to be out of this game. So Cedric Wilson Jr., Kool-Aid McKinstry, Chris Olave, and Lucas Patrick. And then you have safety, JT Gray, dealing with a back injury, was limited all week and is questionable. And then you have cornerback, Rico Payton, back injury, was limited Wednesday and Thursday. And then, oh, yeah, he was limited all week and then is listed as questionable. And then you have a running back, Jamal Williams, groin, was limited Wednesday and Thursday. And then I guess he re injured his groin in Friday's practice, and has him listed as questionable here. But I've already seen that he's not going to play in this game, which, I mean, that's not a big loss. I stated before on previous injury report when he hurt himself last week. Like, I mean, what does he do? How did he even get hurt in the first place? He doesn't do anything. And then you have a defensive tackle, John Ridgway, oblique, was limited all week and is listed as questionable. And then hopefully this will be a nice bit of a return. This game feels like a little bit of kind of like the lead up to the Chargers game, where they were getting some healthy players back, and maybe getting some reinforcements to maybe give them a little bit more of a chance of winning, depending on whether you actually want them to win or you're still like wanting that number one pick. But out of all games left, I think the Falcons are number one on the one team that you might be okay with them getting one more win against. I would say the Falcons are number one, and then the Jameis Winston Cleveland Browns are two, and then just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just so you don't get swept, are number three. But after all that, they just perfectly fine with me losing the rest of the games of the season, even if it maybe does push them down in like maybe the top 10 somewhere instead of being in the top three like they are right now. So I'm talking about some reinforcements. I'm talking about safety Will Harris. So you're missing both of your starting corners from the beginning of the year, but at least you're getting your starting safeties. You'll have your three really, your starting safeties. You'll have Will Harris, Tyrann Matthews, and Jordan Howding all back. So a little bit getting a little bit healthy in the I guess it's really as healthy as possible in the secondary. Besides no Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he was limited Wednesday and was full Thursday and Friday and listed as questionable. And then you have quarterback Derek Carr. He's not on the injury report for the oblique anymore, but it's an illness of some sort. It's that time of year, people got the sniffles or any other kind of virus, I guess. But he was full all week and has no game status. So I imagine, like Darren Rizzi was saying, as far as he knows, Derek Carr is the Saints starter, and then running back Alvin Kamara, hand, but not it's not on there for ribs anymore. So maybe his broken ribs are close to fully healed, and he's just kind of dealing with the broken hand now. He had a great game against the Carolina Panthers. Just really disappointing that they couldn't get the win. But he was full all week and has no game status and should play. And I believe he only needs like 14 rushing yards to become the Saints' all-time leading rusher over Mark Ingram and Deuce McAllister, who's three. I guess yeah, Deuce McAllister would be three, and then Mark Ingram would be number one, which I'm actually kind of surprised by that a little bit, just considering Alvin Kamara never really up until possibly this season has never had a season where he had 1,000 yard rushing, but I guess just putting up those 700, 800 yard seasons, being consistent with that, I guess it obviously it adds up. So hopefully, if nothing else, we see some another big and exciting game from Alvin Kamara, whether that comes with the win or not. And then you have a guard, Shane Lemieux, knee was full all week and is listed as questionable, but still hasn't been. I'm not sure that he's 100% been activated from IR yet. And then you have linebacker Nephi Sewell, knee was full all week and is listed as questionable. And it's kind of the same thing with him. There's kind of asterisks by some of these players like Shane Lemieux, Nephi Sewell, and Will Harris. I think they have to be like either on Saturday before the game or before the game have to be like designated to return because they've already been allowed to practice, just haven't been put on the active roster yet. And then just talking about getting reinforcements and Saints kind of like getting a little bit healthy, like they did before the Chargers game. You have center Eric McCoy, groin. I guess he didn't practice Wednesday, but was limited Thursday and limited Friday and is listed as doubtful. But just to see him practicing again is good and is positive. But if he's still hurt at all, there's no reason in playing Eric McCoy. I kind of feel like with the season being how it's played, I don't really even see the real point of Eric McCoy coming back at this point in the season. The season's kind of lost, and he's definitely, out of all the players that went on IR and had potential for coming back, he's had the most serious injury with a torn groin, like ripped off the bone. So I definitely wouldn't push for him to start. But still, it's positive seeing that the Saints are getting healthy and seeing that he's able to practice now. So that's the Saints injury report. Pretty ugly, pretty gross. It's been like that all season, but they're getting a couple starters from earlier in the season coming back. So hopefully, if nothing, they can put something competitive and at least enjoyable and maybe exciting and just not a snooze fest like pretty much every single game after the first 2 weeks under Dennis Allen has been. Hopefully we can see some fire and some discipline and just some want to and energy from this Darren Rizzi led team now. Okay, now on to the Atlanta's injury report, the Falcons. So the first person on their injury report is inside linebacker J.D. Bertrand. He's dealing with a concussion, didn't practice all week and is out. And then you have outside linebacker Matthew Judon, illness, didn't practice Wednesday and then was full Thursday and Friday and has no game status. And then you have defensive line Grady Jarrett Achilles was limited Wednesday and Thursday and then was full on Friday and has no game status. You have a guard Chris Lindstrom, knee limited Wednesday and Thursday and then was full Friday and has no game status. And then you have wide receiver Drake London, hip, was limited all week and is questionable. But I think the Raheem Morris stated that yeah, I think Raheem Morris stated that he should be good enough to play, healthy enough to play. Uh, so Drake London, even though he's listed as questionable, more than likely is going to play. And then you have a tight end, Kyle Pitts, hamstring, was limited Wednesday and Thursday, and then was full Friday, has no game status. And then you have defensive line, James Smith Williams, tibia, was limited Wednesday and Thursday, but didn't practice Friday, but has no game status. So I'm assuming that means he's going to play unless he gets downgraded or something like on Saturday or Sunday before the game. And then inside linebacker Troy Anderson, knee, was full all week and has no game status. And then center Drew Dahlman, ankle, was full all week and is listed as questionable, but just like Drake London, Raheem Morris stated that he expects him to play. So there's a great compare and contrast between a healthy team and an injured team and a team with a losing record and a team with a winning record. I mean, a lot of it amounts to how healthy are you? How many starters do you have from projected starters in the offseason? And you can see the Atlanta Falcons are healthier more than the Saints have been since week 1, week 2. Would have been nice for the Saints to have just somewhat of a semblance of being that healthy all year, but not this year. Not this year. They have this whatever the same thing that the New Orleans Pelicans have, or the New Orleans Saints gave whatever they have to the Pelicans. They're just cursed and injured, but hopefully they go out there and show a little bit of fire and want to for Darren Rizzi, who I think they respect a whole lot more, and hope to at least try to get this one, be competitive and nothing else. All right, now then on to MVPs, pre-game MVPs. I'm going with a defensive player on this for one of the few times I've done that, and it actually comes back to one of the few defensive players I've done a pre-game MVP on before, and that's Cam Jordan. And picking him again because he's really a player. It doesn't really matter if he plays good or plays bad or has a bad game, because he just all year for the most part hasn't done anything besides the previous time I picked him as my pre-game defensive MVP for the game, and that was against the Buccaneers, where he had just an interception off a deflected pass off of Brian Bressee's helmet that just fell into his waiting arm. So I'm picking Cam Jordan, kind of former past Falcons killer, to be the MVP of this game, at least on defense. So it would be nice to see Cam Jordan, who I'm not sure if he may only have like half a sack or maybe none this year. It'd be nice to see him get a sack on a Falcons quarterback and Kirk Cousins, just to have us reminiscing a little bit when he was Matt Ryan's worst nightmare. All right, and now on to hot takes. This goes to Darren Rizzi, who I think has more fire and has more push back when it comes to actually being on the press and having stuff to say, and he's just not boring, and he's ready to throw it all down and have his players back. So this may not be necessarily a positive thing for him, but it might be something that we see him do that maybe gets us pumped up and excited. So I'm going for like Darren Rizzi to do maybe something kind of Bush League in this game, or maybe just maybe a trick play, or be more willing to go for it on fourth down than Dennis Allen ever was, or maybe if we get Will Harris back, maybe Will Harris lays a big hit like people have been hitting Chris Olave with, and hopefully and as maybe Will Harris is coming off the field, kind of like when Will Harris laid that big hit on CD Lamb in week 2. Hopefully he's coming off the field and he's slapping him on the helmet and doing chest bumps with him. So doing some Bush League stuff, some stuff that'll just make Falcons fans mad, or maybe even just it depending, no matter whether the Saints win or lose, maybe just a real hard handshake on Raheem Morris with the pat on the back, maybe getting into a little bit of a scuffle with Raheem Morris at the end of the game. So I'm wanting to see some Bush League stuff from Darren Rizzi in this game to kind of get us feeling that we have uh, a coach now, at least an interim coach, that's got some cojones, and it's not just soft as a marshmallow and just an introvert like Dennis Allen was. All right, now then, on to picks and scores. I feel that this it might take the Saints a little bit to kind of get their feet underneath them in this game. So I could easily see them maybe going down 14-0 in this game, or 10-0 in this game. But we want to see that it's positive, like there's some encouragement from them, and hopefully they'll be able to like come back and maybe get it to one score, or get it tied in the second half. But overall, the final outcome, I'm picking the Falcons to win this, and I still, even with the new interim coach, I just think the Falcons are way too healthy compared to the Saints, and the Saints are way too injured compared to the Falcons. Not saying that the Falcons are a good team, even though they are running away with the NFC South at what, 6-3. I mean, I would kill to be 6-3 right now. So you can't shovel too much dirt on the Falcons, but I'm picking the Falcons to win this 27-17. But expect to see just some encouraging things, and some positive things, and maybe things that Darren Rizzi and the Saints can look forward and try to build on, whether it's this season, or maybe if Darren Rizzi rattles off a couple wins, maybe he ends up being the full-time head coach. But this is just kind of a hard spot for an interim coach to be thrown into, with the injured roster going up against their most heated and hated rival, who's a decent team and is healthy compared to the Saints. But I just don't see the Saints picking up the win in this game. But if there are any more games of the season that the Saints win, it would be pretty exciting to win this game and just completely embarrass the Falcons. And maybe if it comes by way of a bad call, like the other night against the Ravens and the Bengals, that would make it like 10 times better. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?